Welcome to this video tutorial for Mercury M5 Bridge microcontroller integration into Genetec's Security Center. In this video tutorial, you will learn about the M5 panels, how to configure and enroll them. This video covers all M5 bridge panels supported by the Synergis software 10.4. However, for an up-to-date full list of all compatible devices and supported firmware, please consult the latest Synergis software guide. This is an architecture overview of how the Mercury M5 bridge could look on a system. The M5 bridge is a complete line of controller, reader interface, and I/O modules designed to help you migrate away from your legacy GE installations of CASI hardware. All M5 components are plug-and-play, compatible with existing CASI Micro 5 and M3000 enclosures. The M5 IC connects to additional enclosures via the RS485 link and the M5 COM panel. Together, the M5 IC and the M5 2K replace the CASI M2000 enclosure circuit board. There are up to 8 enclosures per M5 IC. The first enclosure has one M5 IC plus one M5 2K, and the next 7 enclosures have one M5 COM plus one M5 2K. Next, we will go over the data sheets for all the M5 boards. Feel free to pause the video on each component in order to read the full specs. The M5 IC Intelligent Controller. The M5 2RP is a 2-reader control device. The M5 2SRP is a 2-reader control device with supervised inputs. The M5 8RP is an 8-reader control device. The M5 20IN is a 20-input control device. The M5 16DO is a 16 digital output control device, also known as solid-state switches. The M5 16DOR is a 16 output control device. The M5 COM is the power and communication controller. The M5 2K is a 4-reader, 10 inputs and 8 outputs control device. Enrolling an M5 IC is very similar to how you enroll a Mercury EP controller. If you're adding an existing M5 IC and you don't know the network settings, you can connect to it using the default IP address. In order to connect using the default IP address, you need to power down the M5 IC and then flip dip switches 1 and 2 into the on position. When the unit is next powered, you will be able to use the default network settings. In order to prepare the unit for integration with the Synergis appliance, you will need to access the M5 IC's webpage and configure a few settings. The default IP address for Mercury controllers is 192.168.0.251. You will need to connect the network cable coming from the M5 IC to a network interface card that is configured to be in the M5 IC's default IP range. In this example, the workstation has 2 network interface cards. NIC2, also called LAN2, is configured with IP address 192.168.0.250 and with a 24 subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Next, you need to open a browser and type in the Mercury default IP in the address bar. This will take you to the Mercury logon page. The M5 IC default username is admin, and the default password is password. The warning you see here is normal due to the fact that the 5-minute logon window has expired. This is simply resolved by flipping the dip switch 1 to the off position and then back to on. Once that's done, you can attempt logging in again. Once logged on, you will want to set the network settings to your requirements. Select Network from the menu and configure the controller's IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS. When done, click Accept. Next, select Hostcom from the menu. The communication address has to be set to 0. Data security has to be set to TLS required. Set the desired port number. The default port number is 3001. Configure the Synergis unit IP address. In this example, we're allowing communication to any Synergis unit. Click Accept when done. Select Users from the menu. Click New User. Creating a new user is optional, but doing this will save you the trouble of having to flip dip switch 1 to the on position each time you're trying to access the web page. Click Save when done. Select Apply Settings and then click on Apply Settings Reboot. This is a good time to turn all dip switches to the off position. Check the box for the I understand and wish to proceed, followed by Yes. The panel will now restart. The M5 panels need to be addressed differently in each enclosure. This is done from the addressing dip switches located on the panels. You can use the table on the right side of the screen in order to address your panels. Keep in mind that the dip switch 8 has to be left in the off position for normal operation, and that dip switches 7 and 6, when both are set to on, they will match Security Center's default 38,400 baud rate. In order to enroll the M5 panels, you need to open Config Tool, open the Access Control task, and select Roles and Units. Expand the Access Manager role and click on the Synergis appliance. Click on the Peripherals tab and then click on Add an item. From the Model drop-down menu, select M5 IC. Type in the M5 IC IP address and port. Each enrolled Mercury intelligent controller needs to have a unique channel ID. In this first example, we will add M5 IC with a M5 2K board that was addressed 0. Click Apply once done. The unit will show red for a while until it's added. Next, we will add another M5 IC that has multiple M5 panels spread across 2 enclosures. The enclosure that has the M5 IC is labeled Enclosure, and the second enclosure that's hosting the M5 COM is labeled TB2. We put in the M5 IC's IP address, in this example, we have an M5 to RP in the enclosure 1 as address 5. There's another M5 2RP in the first enclosure addressed 14. There is an M5 2SRP in the TB2 enclosure addressed 5. Next, we have an M5 8RP in the first enclosure addressed 21. Then another M5 8RP in the TB2 enclosure addressed 0. There is an M5 16DO in the first enclosure addressed 9. A second 16DO is located in the TB2 enclosure addressed 20. There is also an M5 16DOR in the first enclosure addressed 30. And the remaining last two devices are M520IN, and both are in the TB2 enclosure addressed 1 and 30. In this example, the first enclosure is using the default baud rate, and the second enclosure is using baud rate 115200, which means dip switches 6 and 7 are set to off on all the M5 panels in this enclosure. We need to reflect this in the advanced settings. Click OK, then Apply. After a short time, the panel will be added and will show online. You can expand it to see all the M5 panels that were added and their status. This concludes this video tutorial. Please stay tuned for more.